Hi, my name is Garret Brandt. I am the Director of Risk Management for Keller Williams Heritage, which means that I get to oversee many of the programs and contract issues here in the offices. And that includes all of the satellite offices, business centers in New Braunfels, Seguin, and the Hill Country, Canyon Lake, the Alamo Heights office as well. I get to help all the agents in the office do their work better. So I want to tell you a little bit about my job. Fortunately for you, you get the short condensed version because nobody wants to sit here and listen to or watch a video for an hour and a half, which is what they normally give me to talk to you about and tell you more about my job. So lucky you only get the short video version. But that means I'm going to leave a lot of stuff out of this, which could be important for you to know. So I really encourage you to reach out to me whenever you have questions, whenever you have an issue that comes up, or when you get a note back from me in the paperless system that you don't understand, to reach out, and because I'm here to help you do your job better. That's really the bottom line of why I am here. So let me tell you a little bit about what I do. So first of all, my main job in this is I get to review every single contract, sales contract that is, that comes through the office. If you write an offer for a buyer or you receive an offer on one of your listings and it goes to contract phase, eventually you will upload that into the computer and it'll cross my desk for review. Even ones that get terminated, all those cross my desk for review. When I get files for review, I check them for TREC compliance issues. I look to make sure that all the license numbers are on, that all the forms are there that are needed for a transaction, that nothing is missing, and that we've complied as much as we can with TREC issues. I also look for legal issues. I should say, probably, I should have said up front, I'm not an agent. I'm a licensed attorney. I am licensed to practice here in Texas and in Colorado, and I have about 20 years of real estate practice in my lifetime. So that's what kind of I bring to the table to help you do these things. So I do check for legal issues. I try to make sure that legally, if there is a dispute, then the other side does not have an advantage over a legal issue that would be found in the contract documents. I work with you to get missing and corrected documents for the file when that is needed. More of my job is I get to answer your contract questions. Whenever you find that you are in a situation where you don't know how to fill out a form completely, or another agent has sent you something you don't understand, or you need some kind of special situation, I'm the person that you start with, or one of the people you start with. We also have the contract hotline when I can't be reached. So my favorite way for you to contact me is through email. My email address here at the office is G, like my first name, Garrett, GBRANDT @mykwsa.com. The reason that's my favorite is I get those on my cell phone too, so when I'm out of the office, I can send you back a reply. If it's urgent and needs to be done even on a weekend, I do check my messages. I don't always get my phone messages as quickly, but do feel free to call me. I don't want to say that the only way to reach me is by email. I'm just saying that's my favorite way. Stop by the office too. Come meet me, come ask your questions. We can have a discussion about the topics that are going on in your file. So my office is just down the hall from Craig's office on the main hallway here at the Heritage office. So do call, stop by, or email. One of the reasons I like email is that I have a self-imposed 1-hour return policy to reply to all of your emails. It gives me a chance to formulate a good response, to do any research that's necessary, and get back to you in a very timely manner because I know it's important to you. Anyway, so do feel free to reach out to me. More of what I do here is I provide information to you, the agents, and to the broker about the TREC rules, about TAR ethic issues, and the MLS rules, whether it's the Seymour rules or the Four River MLS rules. I have read them and I do advise you on the situations that come up with those rules. I also look at governance of rules and regulations, new laws that are coming down, new regulations that are being passed or adopted, and help the brokerage be compliant with those. And finally, I get to look out for Keller Williams, Craig Owen, the broker. That's really my main job as Director of Risk Management. I am here to manage the risk and minimize the opportunities for other agents or other parties to make a claim against us. Now, the good news for you is by watching out, the way I watch out for Keller Williams and Craig Owen is to protect you, to look out for you, to help you do your job better. And when I do that, it minimizes the chance that somebody's going to be able to make a claim against you and the brokerage. So I said at the beginning that one of my main jobs is to review every single sales contract. This year we're on pace to have more than 8,500 contracts written in this office. So that's a lot by itself. If we do a little math with that, not every contract that comes through passes the first time. Either a document is missing, there's some other correction that needs to be made. Whatever it is, I have to send it back to you for additional work. So those add up. So in addition to the regular reviews, I have the resubmittal reviews, and usually that's about 60 to 70% of all contracts have to come back to me again. And then even in those, sometimes they have to come back for a third, fourth, sometimes even a fifth review. So all those add up. On top of that, there are amendments that come in later. There's termination of contracts, other documents that come up. All told, with all the initial submittals and resubmittals and amendments and the like, I expect that I'm going to view over 20,000 files this year alone. And that's going to be a lot of work, but I'm up for it and I'm pretty good at this. So, but why I tell you that is that the more you can do to pay attention and be good at your job and minimize the mistakes and errors, then it allows me to do my job even better. I do try and catch every mistake, but sometimes things do get through. Let's talk for just a brief minute about your independent contractor addendum. Right now, when you join Keller Williams Heritage, you are authorized to do residential sales. If you don't have your broker level license, we will not allow you to do property management issues. The reason why is, one, that's a TREC rule. You can't do property management unless you have your broker level license. And second, there's a lot of pitfalls that go into property management that if you're not experienced in it, will cause you a lot of heartache, a lot of complaints against you. In fact, it's the single largest category of TREC complaints that relate to property management issues. Likewise, we don't initially allow you to do commercial sales, either listing or representing the buyer, or farm and ranch contracts. The reason why is these are very specialized areas that have unique areas of the law that intersect with them, unique pitfalls, and for the unwary, you're adding a lot of liability to you. So if you have an interest in doing farm and ranch or an interest in doing some commercial, I need you to come and see me. I do get to approve who does those items. We would talk about what your experience is, what the nature of this transaction is. I would encourage you, in fact, I would not just encourage you, I'd probably require you to get some mentorship from a more seasoned agent in those areas. And we have lots of agents that would give you some advice, look things over, and help you build a practice in those areas. But you can't just jump in right away because it would open you and the brokerage up to a lot of liability. So TREC gets a lot of complaints. As I said, that the number one area is in property management. In fact, about a quarter of all complaints to TREC relate to property management, but they also get complaints in other areas such as advertising and neglect from the broker that they're not doing their supervising and other areas. They also get complaints in what's called a general category, a miscellaneous category, which is all other sales matters relating to your sales contracts or your buyer's purchase contracts. These include general negligence, loss of earnest money complaints, failure to disclose complaints, and the like. And this is where a lot of the liability comes in. TREC also receives complaints about improper form usage or missing forms, specifically the IABS that you're required to present to a buyer or seller at first substantive contact. The reason I bring up the complaints and the categories is TREC has a whole range of penalties and that they can assess to you. First, they can suspend or revoke your license. And that's a pretty drastic remedy, but it is one that they have done. They can suspend or revoke your license, thereby taking away your ability to earn a living by selling real estate. So you're putting a lot of work into this, a lot of effort, a lot of time, even some money into this. You got to sit here and listen to boring attorneys, you name it, whatever it is. You don't want to give them a reason to suspend or revoke your license, but they do have that. Short of that, and that's pretty much a last gasp remedy if nothing else is going to work. But short of that, they have the ability to fine you, and the fines range from as low as $100. There's actually three categories. The first category is $100 to $1,500 per violation per day. The next category of offenses go up to a $3,000 per violation per day range, and that's comes up quite frequently because it includes issues such as not giving the IBS to a buyer or seller at first substantive communication. So when you are going on a listing appointment, you need to give the potential seller an IABS. Before you send MLS listings to a potential buyer that you want to work with, you need to also include a copy of the IABS. These are substantive communications that you need to be out in front of. Don't wait till you're getting a contract in place to suddenly remember this, because with the forms being dated, TREC is going to know whether or not you did it at the front end. But I try and help you with that and keep you out of trouble. The last range of penalties or fines goes up to $5,000 per violation per day. That includes things like outright fraud, which I know none of you will ever engage in, but other more subtle things. If there is activity that you're engaged in that you feel could be unethical, or somebody's asking you rather to do something unethical, or you're uneasy about, or you're just not sure of your duties, please come and talk to me and we can talk through what needs to be done, because my job is to keep you out of trouble and out of these fines. And all of these fines can be doubled if you are a repeat offender. Let me be very clear at this point that TREC has the ability to open up investigations into agents and brokerages on their own. They typically don't, because they lack the manpower, being a government agency, to just randomly walk into offices and conduct audits. But they do have that right. But short of that, they're a complaint-driven investigatory consumer protection agency. And let's be clear that they're consumer protection. That's their front, that's their focus. So when a consumer complains about an agent not doing their job, they take that very seriously, and they will open up a complaint, an investigation into your file. Now, they're not unfair, but they are going to look through every piece of paper in your file. And on top of that, if they find that something is not right, or they get suspicion that this could be a continuing problem, they have the right to look at every single one of your files going back years. And I do mean years, several years in fact. So if I ask you to correct something or pay attention to doing something a certain way, I really hope you'll take that seriously, because if you get into a pattern of being sloppy and it gets missed over and over again, TREC finds out about it, they will come in and find all your files. We have examples of TREC going back several years to prior sponsoring brokers and assessing fines on agents that are no longer with them. So TREC really has broad authority to investigate the files that you are participating in. So the main point of this is, don't give them a reason to want to poke further around in your life. One very cool thing that we do here, this is changing topics completely, but I do want to cover this. One very cool thing that we do here at Keller Williams Heritage that I don't think they do at any other broker is we will cover your portion of an E&O deductible claim if you do 5 simple things on every contract. All of these are on the app. You can find this whole the PowerPoint presentation that I prepared to go with this on the MyKW app that hopefully you've downloaded to your phone. and you can get all this material. So this is on here too, these 5 points. The first thing that we would need you to do is make sure that a buyer's home warranty is purchased at or before the closing. The reason that's important is one of the largest areas of complaints to Trek is that something has gone wrong with the home and the agent should have known about it or disclosed it. And so when a home warranty is purchased and the dishwasher breaks or something else breaks that there is warranty coverage for, that gets replaced and complaints to Trek drop. So the first thing is having that buyer's home warranty. The second thing is that a seller's disclosure notice is signed and dated by the seller and delivered and acknowledged received by the buyer prior to closing. The seller's disclosure notice is a single piece of evidence, the single most common piece of evidence used in trials against the seller for misrepresentation of the property on a sale. So it needs to be completed by the seller and then acknowledge that the buyer has received it at or prior to closing, hopefully right at the start of the contract so the buyer has a chance to look through this. This brings up a point I'll get to a little bit more in a minute, but we do require, when you have a listing, to present what's called Seller Shield to the sellers. Seller Shield is a product in all full disclosure. It is a product that is a company from our Austin counsel, Bo Blackburn. He's an attorney in Austin that handles our Trek complaints, defending our agents, and advises us on litigation matters. So this is his product. We do not receive any direct financial gain from Seller Shield, but we did receive a discount on our E&O insurance by making sure that this is presented at every listing opportunity. This does not have to be, the seller does not actually have to buy it for us to get that benefit, but we do present it to them as an option. The reason it's important for the seller's disclosure notice is that if the seller signs up for Seller Shield, it has a tutorial for that seller to walk through and complete an online seller's disclosure notice that is then signed, dated, and it has an attorney, being Bo Blackburn's company, advising those sellers the best way to complete it. That right there is a pretty good value because it takes all the pressure off of you of answering the question of, well, how do I complete this? What do I put here? Do I really need to disclose this? And we know that you get those questions pretty much every time you take a listing. So but I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The next thing that needs to happen for us to pay your share of the deductible on a claim is you must give the buyer a TAR 2506 form. That's the form that recommends the buyer get an inspection of the property. Now, they don't have to get the inspection for us to give you the benefit, but the form has to be given to the buyer and signed and in the file. If the buyer chooses not to have an inspection, we also require that they sign a waiver of inspection, and that form is in our form database. That way, a buyer can't come back later and make the claim that they did ask you to order an inspection and that you somehow failed to do that. If they sign an actual waiver, it's harder for them to make that claim later. The fourth condition of us paying the deductible is that you use a standard promulgated Trek form or one prepared by an attorney representing one of the parties. You can't use just any old form, you have to use the promulgated forms. Since this is something you're required to do, this one's kind of a gimme, and I have yet to see a form prepared by anyone other than a Trek form or an attorney. So you're probably covered there. And the last condition is that if there's a dispute, you bring it to the attention of leadership immediately. That would be Lisa Munoz, Jack Hawthorne, myself, Craig Owen, somebody in leadership that can step in and start to help solve the issue or get it in the right hands to do that. We don't want you taking care of these on your own because that only can create frustration. It only maybe puts you in a position where you have to continually address it, and if things go wrong, you've hurt your case of getting this settled quickly. So with those 5 things in place, we will cover your portion of the deductible. I do also want to say here that if you own property and you are going to sell that property, if you we will not cover you under E&O insurance if you list that property for sale. The operative word being there for list, putting it in the MLS. You can sell it FSBO all you want, because then you're not acting as an agent. But as soon as you use your ability as an agent to put it in the MLS, you're now representing yourself, and that excludes you from errors and omissions coverage. Next point I want to make, I want to talk just a tad more about Seller's Shield. Hopefully we put in this video a quick overview of the application on there, and it does a couple things. One, it gives the seller up to $20,000 of legal coverage by Bo in the event there's a misrepresentation claim. And second, like I said earlier, it does allow them to complete the seller's disclosure notice using the Seller Shield online wizard. Now, they don't have to use that seller's disclosure notice. They can actually buy this product at any time up till closing. So if you've got a seller that at first doesn't think they want to spend the couple $100s to get this product and protect them, but during the course of the transaction, the buyer has been pushy or threatening, or you just get a feeling that they're going to be the kind of people that after the fact are going to come back and demand a lot from your seller, you might remind your seller again about this later on in the transaction. Again, they can buy this product at any time up to closing, and all it takes is that there be a completed seller's disclosure notice. So in the event or in the cases where a seller's disclosure notice is not required, such as an estate or foreclosure property, the Seller Shield isn't applicable and is not really needed anyway. So that's enough about seller's disclosure. I want to talk pretty much at the end here about forms. Forms are the sort of lifeblood of a transaction. You cannot buy and sell real estate without a written contract. And therefore, we have the forms that you have to use. And I see lots and lots of mistakes, pretty much the same mistakes over and over again on the forms. So I'm not going to sit here and go through a whole litany of the mistakes that are made, because I want to keep this short. But when I send you back a note in the system that asks you to correct something, please pay attention to it, because it is likely something that has occurred over and over again. And if you don't pay attention to it, then you're likely to make the same mistake over and over again, and I'll have to keep asking you for the same corrections. So, but there's just a lot that do come up in the sales contract or in the lead-based paint addendum or various other forms that you're going to encounter from time to time. Ask a lot of questions, get the answers, make a notebook of the things that I tell you or that other agents inform you of. Keep a good list of how to complete the forms. These are things that will set you up for success when completing the forms. There's also many other just common mistakes that are made. A lot of them involve simple things that just get overlooked, such as not signing and dating forms, checking boxes in the contracts without really understanding what they mean, sort of in a sort of CYA matter of, well, there's a box, I must check it. That's not always a good policy, because you could be obligating your buyer or seller to pay for something that you're didn't intend to, or think that you've obligated the other side to pay for something and haven't completed it correctly. So understand the forms and try and pay attention in filling them out. Using the forms, paragraph 11 of the sales contract to have language that you shouldn't put in there, adding disclosures to paragraph 22 that don't belong there. These are things that I see commonly that I try and discourage. If you ever have a question, like I said at the beginning, if you ever have a question about completing the contract or other forms, call our contract hotline. Hank Bronstein has a wealth of knowledge on how to do this. You can come by my office or email me. I will get back to you and give you the advice on the best way to complete this. Find a very seasoned agent or your mentor and ask them a question. But take lots of notes and do ask the questions. So sort of the final portion of this video, trying to wrap it up quickly for you. Yay! So I sort of have some final thoughts here. I call this my dad portion of the talk. I do have 4 kids, and so I get to go a little dad on you. Many problems are made worse by ignoring them. When you think, oh, this will just blow over, oh, that the other side doesn't really mean this. That's not a good case. Please take this stuff seriously. When another agent contacts you, Trek requires you to respond to them within a timely manner. Don't just blow these things off. It will become a bigger and worse issue for you. Most of these issues can be prevented just by asking up front, completing the contract correctly, or how to fill out an amendment correctly. All these issues, just ask up front. We're here to help you. We're on your side, and we want you to succeed. And so asking for our help is part of my job. And waiting till the last minute causes errors and causes problems. If you are rushing at the end right before closing to get your documents into me for review, first of all, I have a lot of contracts. I can't make everything a priority. Second, if there are then mistakes, you may not have time to get them corrected before the closing occurs. And so waiting until the end will cause you more problems than doing it in a timely manner. I should also say at this point that Keller Williams Heritage, we have a policy that you are required to upload the contracts for my review within 7 days of the execution of the contract. The reason for that is that's at the beginning of the transaction. One, when everyone's happy, sellers are glad to be selling the property, buyers are glad to be buying it. So if there's an error, if there's a problem, something that needs the cooperation of both sides, we can get it addressed while everyone's still happy. Later on, maybe there have been problems that have come up, there hasn't been agreement on repairs to be made, and so the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be to correct any issues. Next, I just encourage you to be professional in all that you do in this. From your dress to your demeanor to completing contracts, the more professional, this is your livelihood. And when you treat this as a profession, when you look at this on the high level of, say, a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a bank executive, treat it like that. You have to have a little bit of knowledge of kind of all those areas. You have to know a little bit about the law. You have to know some about mortgages and the different programs that are out there, the requirements. You have to kind of be a counselor sometimes, helping somebody sell their home or share the joy of a buyer buying their home and maybe the disappointment of missing out on an offer, or suddenly there are repairs that need to be made and you have a stressed buyer. You have to be part-time counselor, part-time accountant, part-time attorney. You have a lot of roles to fill. Take this professionally and it will take you very far in life. Next, you do work for yourself. This is your business, but you're responsible to others. You're responsible to the brokerage. You're responsible to your family. So when you take this seriously, take on that responsibility and know that you do have people that depend on you, and we want you to succeed in those areas. And finally, my last point is take advantage of the training that Keller Williams offers you. We have some of the most amazing instructors here, world-recognized instructors, coaches like Steve Collins. We have 2 attorneys that are here to help you, myself and Jack Hawthorne. We will not charge you for answering questions. You can come by my office and chat, and you'll never see a bill from me. Take advantage of that. Keller Williams was ranked on the corporate level as the #1 training company in America last year. We have incredible resources. Yes, some do cost some money, but a lot are free. Take advantage where you can, excel in your business, and make this a fun and active livelihood for you. And again, I'm excited for your future. I'm glad you're here at Keller Williams Heritage, and if there's ever anything I can do for you, do not hesitate to call me, email me, stop by. If I ask your name 3 or 4 times, please forgive me. I'm not great with names, and I have 900 plus agents to know and to meet, but I really want to help you and get to know you. Thank you for listening.